Hey kids! I've got my headphones on so you can hear me. Look where I am, I'm at the pond. There's this pond by my house and it's in the park called Everett Crowley Park. It's super close to where I live and you don't have to live here to visit it. It's for everyone, so please come out and check it out. You'll see this pond. There's so many cool lily pads and ducks and frogs. You can hear the frogs, they kind of sound like That's what the frogs sound like. So if you hear that sound, you know it's a frog. And I went for a walk this morning to stay cool because it's gonna get hot today later. And I'm sure you guys know, you've probably been suffering from the heat. But the forest is kind of like a natural air conditioner. If you go in the woods, you'll feel that it's a lot cooler. I'm gonna go right here so the shadow's not in my face. It's a lot cooler because the trees are keeping the sun shaded from you. And also they release moisture, so that helps keep you cool too. It's a really nice place to go. You can just wander around and look at things, and I've actually found this really cool app called Seek. It's through National Geographic, and it's a free app, and you can take pictures of plants and it will identify the plants, and then you can go on Google and find out if the plants are edible. So I've been doing that a lot lately. It's really fun. I've been finding lots of good berries to eat and even different like green leaves that you can cook and eat, and they're really good for you and healthy, and it's kind of fun to be able to go and pick your own food and then make it into some tasty meal. So today I'm going to read a book about something that I feel is really important for everyone to know about. It's called Not So Different by Shane Burkaw, and he's got some disabilities you might be able to see because he's in a wheelchair and he looks a little bit different than the average person. But I feel like learning about disabilities is a really important thing for everyone to learn about, because some disabilities are actually invisible and you can't even tell a person has a disability. Like some people are hearing impaired, or they can't see super well, or maybe they have muscular issues that make it hard for them to balance. Sometimes invisible disabilities can be in your brain and people can't see because it might affect the way that you process information or think about things or can handle certain environments. So it's important to be really sensitive to the people in your surroundings and realize that everybody has a different story and a different background and different things that are going on in their life, and you don't know all those things. So it's important to not just judge somebody based on what you see or what your perceptions are of a person. And maybe you have a disability and you want people to think about how you feel in certain situations, environments, and things like that. Like if you think about going to a place like a store, and I remember thinking about this when I had my kids in strollers. Would go through a door and the stroller would get stuck and I wouldn't be able to go down the certain aisles because it was too narrow, and it would make me think about how people in wheelchairs or with crutches or things that they needed to be able to move wouldn't be able to get into those places. And it feels very frustrating, I think, for people to not feel like they can move around in the world in a way that they fit in and they feel comfortable. So the reason why this issue is so important to me is because my brother has some disabilities, and he was in a really bad car accident when he was 18, and it's really affected his life in a lot of ways. And because all of his disabilities aren't really noticeable to people from the outside, he quite often gets treated in a way that makes him feel really bad and like people don't understand him and he can't fit in. And so I've become really aware of it through watching him. And I felt like the other day when I was reading this book to Bernice, it really helped them understand what it feels like to have people stare at you or treat you differently. And it opened up some questions for us to talk about, which was kind of cool, because sometimes, and based on this book too, it's kind of cool. He says what you really want to ask about having a disability. So he's saying, you know, people ask me these questions, and sometimes sometimes people are nervous to ask questions, and sometimes you shouldn't ask questions, but it's always good to talk with your parents about what things that you're wondering about. And if you have a question and you're not sure if it's an appropriate question to ask the person who you're looking at or around, you can always ask your parents at a different time when those people aren't around and ask them about it. And I'm sure they'll be happy to explain the ways the things you're wondering about different people. I'm getting bitten by mosquitoes out here. So I'll read this book, and then I've got a really cool project. I want to show you guys how to make frogs, because since we're by the pond, you know, you've got to make a frog. This is one that Freddie made. Let's see if I can focus on it a bit better. Look at those cool eyes. And this is one that I made. This is actually a salt shaker. So it has some little holes on the top for shaking salt. Let's see if I can focus on that too. Ooh. One thing I like about frogs is they have really big mouths and bulging eyes. They're one of my favorite animals. But I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she was telling me, she's a really awesome ceramicist. Her name's Daisy Brown. She makes cool pottery. And she was saying that she really liked looking at the videos that I did with her nieces and nephews and doing projects with them. And since it's summertime, you probably are thinking of, what can I do with my day? What can I make that's fun? What can I do that's not just like sitting in front of a TV, although that's totally cool too, because there's lots of cool shows. So I thought I'd teach you how to make a frog, and then maybe Daisy will do it with her nieces and nephews and make a cool frog too. And the other reason I wanted to talk about frogs is because since I'm by the pond, there's a lot of frogs here, and I wanted to talk a little bit about another book that I read with Bernice about frogs. So I'll probably talk about that while we're making the frogs. So I'm going to read the book now, and I hope you enjoy it and learn something from it. All right, I'll flip it around. Okay, so here we have the book, Shane Burkaw. Not So Different, What You Really Want to Ask About Having a Disability. Go ahead, ask me. So let's see what he gets asked, what kinds of questions he gets asked. So here's a kid walking by, looking at him, and maybe wondering something. He's saying, hi, don't worry about it. Hang out with me for a sec. What you really want to ask about having a disability. Okay. This author's actually written a book for adults too, which sounds really cool. I've got it on my list of books I'd like to read. Hi, my name is Shane Burkaw. I bet you have some questions for me. Many people do. They stare and wonder all sorts of things, so I want to answer their most common questions and yours head on. Let's see what questions he gets asked. Okay, so here he is as a little kid. What's wrong with you? Absolutely nothing is wrong with me. I'm just a little different. I was born with a disease called spinal muscular atrophy, or SMA for short. That makes my muscles very weak. It affects all the muscles that help me move, my arms, legs, neck, and more. I've been like this since I was a cute little baby. So here you can see, playing in the sand with Mom, getting my legs stretched out in my stander. That's called, sometimes that's called occupational therapy. It's like, or physiotherapy, because your muscles, when they're not developing properly, they sometimes maybe get stiff or sore, and so then they stretch them out to help them feel better, help them get exercise. Here he is watching TV with his brother Andrew, and my childhood best friends Ben and Harry and my brother Andrew. And they're all making funny faces together. He's just like everybody else. He likes to have fun and play and be silly. Let's see if I can get this all in the picture. Why is your head so much bigger than the rest of your body? I've never been able to walk, and since my disease is progressive, I get weaker as I get older, meaning that my arms are weaker now than I was when I was a kid. Because my muscles don't grow normally, my body has stayed pretty small, but my head and my enormous brain were not affected by my disease, so they grew to a normal size. I admit, it might look a little funny sitting on top of my tiny body. He's got a pretty good sense of humor. I think you have to have a good sense of humor when you have a disability, because there's lots of things that can be kind of difficult to do, and if you laugh at it, it can make it seem less hard, I think. Don't let it get you down, Shane. My head is big and my arms are short too, but I'm still awesome. You're not gonna eat me, right? But how do you do things? Yeah, you see he's in a wheelchair, and if his muscles don't work properly, or like If they're kind of weak, how does he do things? Okay, this is his family. I need help with a lot of things. Luckily, I have great friends and an amazing family. This is my mom, my dad, my brother Andrew. No one else in my family has SMA. It's actually very rare and affects only about 1 in every 10,000 babies. But even though they don't have the disease themselves, my family still lives with it every day by helping me. And that's something sometimes people don't realize, that when somebody in a family has a disability, it affects everybody in the whole family, and they all have to work together to make life easier for each other. And sometimes the person with disabilities needs a lot of extra help. What did they help you with? Almost everything. Look, they're brushing his teeth, giving him a drink, brushing his hair. They help me shower using a special bathtub chair. Then my dad helps me get dressed, and my mom helps me comb my hair so I look handsome. My brother helps me brush my teeth, but he loves to joke around, so I don't let him help me get dressed, or he makes me wear ridiculous outfits. Ugh. They lift me into bed every night when it's time to go to sleep and help me roll over in the middle of the night when I'm uncomfortable too. That'd be really hard, hey, if you couldn't move in your bed when you got uncomfortable or itchy. They also help me go to the bathroom by lifting me onto the toilet. I have a special seat with a strap on it so I don't fall off or in. Wah, wah. That would be kind of annoying. Have you ever fallen into the toilet when the lid is up, like when the seat is up, and you think it's gonna be there, and then you just fall right in and your butt gets wet? How do you eat? I love eating. It's one of my favorite things to do, but since the muscles in my mouth are very weak, I try to stick with softer foods like mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, and pizza. Sometimes I eat them all at once. My family helps me by cutting up my food. So here he is looking at all his most favorite delicious foods. I bet probably some of those foods are your favorite too. I wonder if he can feed himself or if he has to have family help him do that. Although I get a lot of help from my family, the question is, how does your chair work? Although I get a lot of help from my family, I'm able to do a lot of things myself too because I have this awesome motorized wheelchair that helps me move around. I drive it using a joystick, sort of like a video game controller. I get a new chair about every 7 days, and my doctors help me pick out the model that's best for my needs. So those are all the spots on his wheelchair. And look, he even points to his tattoo because he's got one right there. And his fresh kicks. Looks like he likes to be stylish, just like you and me. He's got his own individual style. I can drive my chair about as fast as you can ride your bike, and I wear safety straps to make sure I don't fall out. I can pop a wheelie with my brother's help. Woohoo! Looks like he's having fun. His brother looks like he's having fun too. Oh my gosh, look at this. This is so funny. Once I tried to pull my brother to the top of the basketball hoop with a rope I tied to my chair, but that broke my chair's motor, which was very expensive to replace. I try my hardest to take very good care of it. Please ask me before you touch it. So because he's a kid, well, he was a kid, he's older now, but when he was a kid, he probably was like, I like horsing around with my brother and having fun. Let's see if I can lift you up by the basketball hoop. So that's what happened. His motor broke. That would be really disappointing. Can you climb stairs? Stairs are impossible, but lucky many places are wheelchair accessible. I can use ramps instead where they are available, and I have an elevator in my room that helps me get to the basement. The Shane-ovator. He's got his own elevator to his basement room. But yeah, you can see how frustrating that would be if you were like, I want to go to these cool places with my friends and my family, and I can't get in because they don't have a wheelchair accessible area. So we need to make sure we make room for all different kinds of people and bodies. Can you drive? I have a specially equipped van that I get into using a ramp. Once I'm inside, my family or friends help strap my chair to the van's floor so it stays stable when I drive. Although I don't drive myself since my arms are so weak, I still love going on road trips with friends. Looks like he's having a nice time going for a drive. My kids really like going for drives because they put their headphones on and listen to the music that they want to listen to. And that's pretty relaxing. How do you play with your friends? Oh, I wonder what happened to him here. My friends and I do a lot of the same things together that you like to do. We play video games, go to the beach, and hang out and talk. We also love to make each other laugh. We love to play sports together. We have to find different ways to play so that I can participate using my wheelchair, but we always make it work. For example, when we play football, instead of tackling people, I just run over them. Ha ha. When we play soccer, I'm able to hit the ball with the wheels of my chair, but I have to be careful too. One time, when I was playing soccer, I forgot to put my safety straps on, and I flipped out of my chair onto my head. Ouch. That would be really hard to not be able to put your hands out in front of you if you're falling. Do people ever make fun of you? Occasionally, and it hurts my feelings because if they knew me a little better, they would see that I'm not so different. I believe it's very important not to judge a book by its cover, so when you meet someone who looks different from you, it's always best to treat them with kindness and respect. After all, that person may end up becoming one of your best friends. That's so true. Don't judge a book by its cover. That means, like, if you see someone and they look a certain way that makes you ask questions or feel uncomfortable, you don't just judge them, you wait and find out what they're like, because most people are pretty cool. I love making new friends, so if you see me out and about, don't be afraid to come up and say hello. You can always smile and say hello to people, right? Just to be friendly. And that's the end of the book. So, I'm going to flip it around and we'll talk about it a little bit, and then we'll make a frog. Some ducks came up to me earlier, and I think they were looking for some food or something. Anyways, so what do you think of that book? That's pretty cool. I think it's really interesting when people make books about themselves. There's books out there called memoirs, and they're stories of people's lives and the things that they've gone through. And so that's kind of like a memoir, right? Like, it's telling us about his life and his experiences and some of the things people ask him and what he has to do. And the reason why I really like those kinds of books is because it teaches you all the different ways that people live and their experiences growing up and what it feels like from their perspective, and it can give you a really good understanding when you meet other people out in the world, like what kinds of many different types of experiences there are. So I'm gonna make a really cool, so I got this thing from the dollar store. I gotta tell you about it. It's called a TV tray for a folding table. So sometimes, I know some of you guys, probably your parents are like, if you do art in the house, it's too messy and it makes a mess and it gets in the carpet and blah, blah, blah. But if you get one of these things, you can put your modeling clay or other kinds of art materials on it, and it doesn't, I think I'm gonna turn this camera around because it's getting really sunny here. It doesn't stick to the carpet, it doesn't stick to the table. Like, sometimes modeling clay has this oily stuff in it that if you put it on your wooden table, it kind of leaves like this residue. So if you get one of these, you can put it in your room, and you can make stuff whenever you want, and then you can take it down to the living room when you're watching a show and you can make stuff there, and then you can bring it down to outside if you're wanting to play outside, and you can make stuff out there. So I'm going to turn the camera around the other way and not have the sun shining in my face, and I'll show you how to make a frog. Okay, so I have to kind of crouch down like this so you can see my face, but then when I start making stuff, I'll just be kind of off camera and you can just watch my hands while I make a frog. So these are the frogs that we made. I'm going to put those over here so you can see them, and this is a mushroom that we made to go with the frogs. Well, I made it, not we, but you get the point. Anyways, so if you want to make a mushroom, you can do that too. It's kind of fun. Now, one thing I know for sure about frogs is they're not all the same color. So you can pretty much have license to do whatever color frog you want to do. I have some modeling clay here from the dollar store. You can also get it at, I think, in Vancouver anyways, I've seen it at Desairs. They have really cool colors there, like fluorescent colors. So go pick out some cool colors, get one of these little tables or placemat that you can put on your kitchen table, and figure out what colors you want to make your frog. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. I know that some of you might find it tricky to make all the different parts of the frog. So if you want to make a really simple frog, you can just roll a ball like that. This is going to be a yellow frog. And then you can take some other color and do two little eyes. You make it look like, you could kind of make it look like a really cute little cartoon frog. And then remember, frogs have really big mouths, so oh, my little frog's rolling away. I'll put him up here. I'm going to move this so it doesn't fall over. You can roll a really long, skinny mouth. And then put the mouth on. Now it just looks like a smiley face right now, but just wait. Wait and see what I'm gonna do. Frogs have these two little tiny holes for breathing called nostrils, if you didn't know. And you could bake some little nostrils. That one's way too big. Don't want to have lopsided nostrils, right? So, I can't get it on. Oh, did you hear that? That was a frog. Boom, boom. That's what they sound like. Okay, so then, if you have a hard time making arms and things like that, you can use pipe cleaners. So, these are these really cool big fuzzy ones I got from the dollar store. And you can kind of like make some feet by folding it. So I'm just like folding some toes. I'm gonna fold one more toe. Big feet, right? Frogs have really big feet, so you want to make sure. Well, you can make them small if you want, but I'm gonna make them big. And then that's gonna be the leg. And I'm gonna stick it in like this. My very happy frog with its long, bendy leg. Okay, so there's one leg. There's the other leg. Now we need to do some little hands. And I forgot to bring my scissors to the woods because, you know, I don't normally pack all my craft supplies with me. But we could do them with some clay. So there's a little hand. Put it like that. Maybe we'll put it down here because it looks more natural. Hear the train in the background. Look at this funny frog. So this is like a very simple ball frog. This is called not a bullfrog, but a ball frog. And the next thing I want to show you is how to make the googly, big, bulging eyes that frogs have, because I think that's probably the most defining feature of a frog, other than its long legs and long tongue. And what else does it have? Big mouth. Okay, so there's one kind of frog. Rabbit, 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 rabbit. So if you want to make a frog's eye, the way I do it, let's take maybe we'll do the frog's eye green and the frog blue. So if you want to make a frog's eye, here's what you do. I'm going to flatten out two eyelids. So when I do the eyelids, I kind of make a flat piece like this, and then I make it a bit pointy on each end like that. Shoot, my phone's going to run out of batteries. I didn't charge it enough. Okay, so make your two little kind of arrow, that's not really arrow, diamond-shaped, oval-shaped eyelids, and then you want to make the little funny eyeball, right, or the pupil, because they have kind of big, well, sometimes their pupils look big and sometimes they look small, but I'm going to do it like this. So that's the pupil, this is the eyeball, and then the eyelids are going to go over top. It's like you're literally creating an eye from scratch. So see how that kind of looks like a frog's eye? So if you do two of those, I'll do that in fast motion. Okay, so now we got to make the head of the frog. Oh, this is a bit of a weird spot to sit. Okay, so let's see what we can do for the head. Maybe a bigger head. Now you can do this miniature too if you want. If you just have small amounts of modeling clay or Play-Doh, you can just do it on small scale, but sometimes it's easier to do it on a big scale because those fine details can be tricky to do. So I'm going to roll a ball, and I'm going to look at this one here and this one here, which are just kind of like, if you look at it, it's just like a bit of a lump, right? Just a little mountain. Now this one's going to have gigantic eyes because sometimes it's fun to just really exaggerate things. I'm going to make the legs like how Freddie did. Kind of like the pipe cleaner frog, but so the way they go, they start at the bum down here and they go up and then they go down again, right? Like that, kind of like it kind of looks like a spider when you just do it like this. And then you can either make the foot separate or you can squish it flat like this, and then either using a little butter knife or a pencil or your fingers, you can squish 3 toes. Frogs have more than 3 toes, but like in cartoons and stuff, they usually just kind of have 3 like that. So you can, if you want, you can look up a picture of a frog on the internet and get some ideas that way too. Sometimes that's helpful. It's hard to always imagine exactly what something looks like. I don't know if you've ever tried drawing a bicycle from scratch, but that has got to be the trickiest thing for me anyway. Knowing exactly where the pedals go and where the chain hooks up to the middle of the bike and the bike post, seat post and stuff, that's, I don't know, my bikes always look really weird. So I look up a picture first, but then I know how it should look generally, and I can kind of have my creative freedom to do it how I want after that. So I'm rolling my next leg, sticking it on. And you can even make a little butt divot for like extra cuteness. Butt like that. Okay, so bend it and flatten it. So it's flat now too. Make my little toes. Squeak. I sometimes make little noises when I'm doing stuff for extra cuteness effect. Okay. I'm a little frog body. Now I need my eyes. But first, let's make the mouth. So I think I'm going to make this mouth yellow, just so that it really pops out. I don't need very much. Okay, so now we got to put the mouth on. Let's see. It's very quiet out here today. Sometimes I like to just come out here and sit on a log. I think that's too thick. I'm going to take it off and make it skinnier. Okay, I think I've got the right thickness now. And actually, instead of making it like a smiley face, I'm just going to make it go across like this. Because that looks more accurate, I think. Frogs don't really smile, they're just like... Okay, so now the eyeballs go on. These eyes are slightly gigantic for this frog, but sometimes it's fun to just like really exaggerate. So now it looks like the eyes are just kind of bulging off the body. So I'm gonna actually take my finger and just smooth the eyes onto the body part. And it starts to look a little bit more like what a frog might look like. Actually, I'm gonna take the mouth off. So I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of times when I'm making stuff, I start with one idea, and as I go along, I start to notice little things that I want to change. So this situation, because the mouth was too far back here, I want to build it out a little bit. So I'm gonna kind of make it look like it has a bit of a, almost like a duck beak or something, but shorter. So I've got to make kind of like just like a little thing like this. Stick it on. Okay, now I'm gonna put, oops, that got stuck to the bottom. Now I'm gonna put the mouth line across this, and it'll look a bit more like what a frog's mouth might look like. Ribbit. You can just imagine this thing hopping up onto the shore. Now we gotta make the front legs. So let me do that in fast motion. And then there's the other foot. And I'm gonna stick it under here like this. Listen. Did you hear that? Maybe it's too hard to hear on my headphones. All right, it was like bow, 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 bow. Okay, so here is a little, oh, that one's a little bit too. There's our little frog. Ribbit, 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 ribbit. So if you want to make some little nostrils now, you can just go like this with your little pencil or something. Maybe the frog likes what I'm making. But that's how you make a little frog, and that's how you make the eyes. So sometimes that can be kind of confusing to know how to do that, but that's how I do it anyway. You can try doing it your way. And I hope you had fun making that with me, and that you come up with some other cool things to make. Look at some reptile books from the library, or find a really interesting animal that you love and learn about it and find out all the reasons why it's an important part of the ecosystem. Frogs, for example, are great because for example, are great because they eat a lot of bugs, so that keeps the bug, insect, mosquito population down. But they're also food for a lot of different animals like snakes, certain kinds of birds, fish, probably some other things too. And so when frogs are not around, then those other animals can't thrive. So it's important to make sure that everything's in balance and all the animals are taken care of. Anyway, I hope you have a great day, and come out to Everett Crowley Park and come to the pond and sit by the water, and you'll hear the frogs making that funny sound. And I hope you enjoyed the story too, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.